Hello. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Radhika. Hi, Rama. Hi, Yashir. So this is starting. Just give me 5 minutes and just close the previous session. Just give me 2 to 4 minutes. I'll just get started. So here also, let's start. Okay, I'll just share my screen. So I hope you all were able to work on that e-commerce exercise that I gave. See now, we have seen that how we have been doing the data manipulation, right? So we have seen that how we used, the just to now set up the things. We have learned a couple of stuff, right? Like in terms of SQL, we have explored the things. In context of Tableau, we have seen the visualizations. In the Python, we have understood how the basic programming is happening, right? So we have seen the data manipulation, how the data manipulation happens in the data. Now, what I will be doing is I will be starting off the bits on the parts of the statistics right now, right? What are the different statistical terms that we have and how do we work with it? Now from here, what we will do is we will be starting off a journey where we will start using some statistical techniques and start exploring the data, using the Python, which will be very much related to the statistics now. Okay. So for that, what I will be doing over here is I'll be just, start with a very basic statistical terms. And, definitely visualizations play an important role in that entire part. So we will be, we will be using this, we will be uh, using the Python now, visualizations and all the other things from the statistical areas. So let's start with that, right? So with the very basics of stats over here. Okay. So let me ask you a couple of things over here before we just move on to that. So see, we use when it comes to data science, as we discussed in the very earlier sessions, we have like something called as descriptive analytics. We have the predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. So descriptive is something that we have been doing till now, right? Descriptive means where we try to pick up the data and we try to tell what had happened, right? Like for example, if we were using the data of the salaries, so we had the data of some, the different the employees, like what their salaries are, in which department are they working, and we were trying to find out what are the total salaries, right? Or maybe when we were in the Tableau, we were creating the visualizations over there to understand that on the banking data that we did, that how many customers the bank had, in which region the more customers were there, whether the bank had more, whether the bank has more male customers or the female customers. Now, what we do is when it comes to use of statistics, we use it for the purpose when we have to predict or we have to tell something about the population now. Okay, now what is population? Let's try to talk about it. See, population means the entire data that you have. Like for example, if I ask you a small exam, if I ask you some a small a question, like if I have to find the total, I want to find the average salary of an Indian. Okay, in the India, what is the average salary a person is making? So if I have to find that thing, so definitely I cannot go to every individual and I cannot ask them that, okay, what is your salary, and then what we do is we find the total salary and divide by the count of the people. So it's not technically possible. So what we do is we generally take the samples from the data, right? We take some samples from the data in order to do that. So while we do that sampling, so we take a sample in such a way that it should represent the population. Okay, it should represent the population, right? What I'll do is I'll take a sample of, say, suppose 1 lakh people, 1 lakh Indians, and I will then calculate the average salary. Now 1 lakh people that I'm taking over there, I have to be very much sure that that sample actually captures different all the people from the different categories and with the different salary segments. It should not happen that I'm taking the samples only of the people who are having a high salary or the people who are having a low salary. Because if that happens, the sample will give me a wrong inference about the population that I'm trying to find the answer for. Okay, so this is where we use the statistics, right? Like for example, if I tell you, like it's a very old example. So what had happened was that in 1940s, around 1940s, what happened was, like in US we have two parties, right? Republic and the Democratic. The the two parties that we have. So now over there, what had happened was that there was one media company. They predicted that what they did was they called all the different voters and they asked them that which party had they voted for, right? So definitely they cannot call each and every person. They only called a section of the people. And then based on that, sample that they collected, they said that the party A will win with a margin of 35% votes. But when the actual result came in, what had happened was the party B won with around almost 40% of the votes. So what do you think would have gone wrong in that case? Right. So in the media company that was trying to tell which companies, like exit polls that we have right now, in exit polls, the same thing happens, right? They try to tell which company has the chances of winning. So with them, the output came out to be opposite. So do you think where can you think of that where did they went wrong?
They went wrong in sampling.
Sorry?
They went wrong in sampling, collecting a sample which represents the entire population.
Okay, so what I mean, so definitely the sample was wrong, but what was wrong in the sample?
Maybe the people, more people of the party which did not win.
So let me reiterate the question. See, the question was that in 1940s, so this media company, they called the people and they took the sample. And then the sample that they took gave them the incorrect results. So what was wrong in the sample now?
No, they might have. They didn't include all kind of people, like all low pay, high pay, and
so they were talking about voting process. So I think they collected. So for example, let's say Democrats won. So they would have called a lot of Republicans who would have said that we will be voting for Republican Party, and by that they got a estimate that maybe Republicans will win. But since they were not talking to a lot of Democrat supporting people, so they got a wrong estimate.
No, see, the thing that is, the answer is in the question itself. So I'm talking about 1940s, right? Now they call the people. At that point in time, telephone was a luxury item, right? Now, if you're calling, that means you're only calling the rich people, right? So that is where they only took the people who were rich, who had a telephone with them, right? So they actually ignored those people who didn't have a telephone with them, and that is where the result came
much like what happened this time. Mail-in ballots were not counted.
Sorry?
I'm saying much like what happened in this election also, mail-in ballots were not considered in the picture that much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know all that. So now that is one small example that I wanted to show you over here, that how that sampling, wrong sample, you pick it up and it can give you the wrong results, right? Like we will be talking about it, which is we will talk about something called as hypothesis testing. That is also regarding the same thing, right? Like for example, what happens is, like there are certain guidelines that are given by the companies, right? Like for example, I hope you all would be aware of that. Some there was this a problem happened with Maggie around 1 or 2 years back. So there was a case that was filed against Maggie that the Maggie is having higher percentage of lead in it. So there was a big, the controversy happened over Maggie, where the in India, like it happened was that the Maggie was discontinued for a certain period of time. So there was allegation that the Maggie was having more than 2.5 ppm of lead, right? So although it is said that as per the food, FDA, Food and Drug Association guidelines, any food item cannot have more than 2.5 ppm of lead. But it was a case that was fired against Maggie that they were having more than 2.5 ppm of lead in their that Maggie product. Now, if you see over here, now how will the authorities, they are going to validate whether the Maggie is having more than 2.5 or not. What they will do is they will again take a sample. They can't go and investigate each and every packet, right? What they will do is they will randomly pick some samples of data, and based on that they will say, okay, the Maggie has if that samples tell that the lead amount is more, they will say yes. I mean, the case is right. And if the lead comes out to be less than that, they will say no, the case was false. So the Maggie is producing all the products as recommended by the food authority. Now that again happens on the samples only, right? When the testing of the thing happens, right? When you have to validate that whether the machinery is uh, filling the right amount of the cold drinks into the bottles. Now over here also, when the machines are deployed, they can't keep on checking each and every bottle. They will say, okay, let's take some samples from that. If the machine is giving the correct amount which is mentioned on their bottles, so that means the machines are working fine, otherwise not. Definitely in the samples there can be a marginal error, right? There can be some error that might come up. So in some bottles 5 or 10 ml is more, or in some bottles 5 or 10 ml is less, but that is acceptable, right? So there is something we will be talking, that how much error we can accept in that sample, so that we can get to know that okay, the analysis that we are doing is going in the right direction. But outside that, what if the error goes more than that, then only we reject the sample, right? Like for example, if you say that you took a sample of 500 shirts, and out of those 500 shirts, one or two shirts come out to be defected. So you cannot say that the company is manufacturing the defected shirts, right? But if it comes out that out of those 500 shirts, 200 shirts were defected, then you will say that definitely the company is producing the defected shirts. Making sense? I hope I'm able to tell you. Okay. Now, based on this, now what happens is when a sample is taken, from that sample, the first thing that we do is we do some inference, we do some calculations on that, and we try to find some central tendencies. Okay. Now what happened is, what is a central tendency? I'll just tell you. But before that, if you see from this slide right now, this was the entire population. From that population, I took a sample, right? On the sample, what I did was I did my statistics, and whatever statistics I did and whatever the outcome came, I say that the same applies to the entire population. Okay, like for example, like in this COVID situation, like this is the best example. So what happened is, when they say that the positivity ratio is 5% or 7%, so what they're doing is, like, if they have conducted in a day, they have conducted 1,000 tests, and out of those 1,000 tests, it turns out to be 50 cases were positive. So they will simply say that there is a 5% of positivity ratio. So they have not, like, tested all the people in that city or the state or that location. They have just conducted the test for 1,000 people, and it turned out to be that only 50 people were infected. So they say 5% is the positivity ratio. Now that is how the sampling thing works, and which is used for representing the entire population. So there are some notations that we use. Like for example, when you take a sample, so we say if the complete population was N, we represented by capital N. Out of that, we took a sample of N items. So we represent that with a lowercase n, right? Then we find the average. Average of a sample is represented by X bar, and average of the complete population is represented by mu, right? So this is just the symbol that we use. Then we find the standard deviation of the data, right? Standard deviation is something now the deviation from the mean. So for a standard deviation of the sample is represented by S, and sigma by the sigma is represented as the standard deviation of the overall population. So these are some notations that we use a lot, right? Like for example, for the mean for the population, if it's written mu, you can get to know that okay, we are talking about the mean of the population. If it's written X bar, you will get to know that okay, we are talking about the mean of the sample, right? Standard deviation, variance, proportion. So these are some abbreviations for that, which we will be again discussing as we will start doing some calculations also. So what happens is, whenever you take a sample, the first thing that we do on that sample is we do these central tendency calculations, and we find the variability, right? Central tendency means that where is the center point of the data line. where the center point of the data is lying. Okay. And variability means how much variation do you have in the data. So in order to find the central point of the data, we find the mean, mode, median, and percentiles, right? And in order to understand the variation in the data, right? How much variation do we have in the data? We calculate the range, standard deviation, and interquartile range, right? These are the things that we find on the data now. So now what is mean, median, mode? I think a couple of things you will be already aware of. Mean is the average, right? You have all the data points, you add them up and you divide it by the count, you get the mean. Okay. Then the second thing is median. So what is median?
The middle point.
And how do we find the middle point? By first sorting the data.
50%.
So if I come over here in the Excel,
Yeah, sorting the data.
and then finding the center point. So suppose I have the age of certain people that is given to me. There is one person whose age is 22, 21, right, 24, 25, 18, 19, 20, right? So I have the age of 7 people that is given to me. So if I have to find the average age, right? So average age will be the mean. It's a mean of sorry, it's not average of.
Average. Yeah.
Actually, I get very confused. The same stuff we use in multiple languages. Somewhere it's mean, somewhere it's average, something else. So we get the average as 21.28. Okay. Now, when we find the median, for median, first what we have to do is we have to sort the data in ascending or descending order, whatever way you want. You can do it. We sort the data. Then we count the values. Suppose these are 7 values. The value which is lying in the middle, right? The value which lies in the middle over here, that is the 5th value. Now, this is something that becomes as a median now. Okay, this is a median. If you have even number of values, suppose I had one more age 26, I will take the middle 2 values and I will take the average of that. So in this case, the median will become 21.5. Okay, so median will now over here, if I'll apply the formula, let's keep it as a 7 only for now. If I come over here and I say median, and I find the median of this, it comes out to be 21, the value that is lying in the center of all the data points that you have. Okay. So now if I ask you, why do we find median?
To find the standard deviation, like the outliers.
Outliers how?
Because
what are outliers?
Because we do a box box plot in which there is a 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, and anything which is out of that box is a outlier.
No, that we will be calculating, right? So we will be creating that up. So in the standard tendency, we find the mean, median, mode, and the quartiles or the percentiles. See, the reason we find the median is, so your answer was correct. We do it to find the outliers. Right now, what are outliers? Outliers are basically the data behaving differently from the rest of the data. Now if you come over here, if I see that average age and median, so if you see mean and median are almost same, 21.28 and like this. Now what happens is, now median is something which will be unaffected by any outlier value. Suppose if in this data I have an age of someone, suppose by mistake while I was entering the age, I had to write 225, but I wrote 250, right? By mistake. Now, if you see over here, the average has changed to 53 and the median is still the same, right? Now, if you see that there is a big difference that you find between the average and the median, you will get a hint right over there that there is something that is wrong with the data, that there is some value which is coming very high, due to which the average is going to be high over here. right? Because what happens with the median is something that calculates the center value by sorting the data in the ascending to descending. If the average comes to be very high, that means there is some value which is very high due to which the average is going high now. And if same way, if the value is very small, that value will be on the top. So it comes out to be, suppose I say 0.1. Okay, so if you see now again, median is still the same, but has reduced down. Average has gone down. So now I can get to know that, okay, that again there is some problem with the data, that there is some value which is very small as compared to the rest of the data now, right? So this is something that is called as an outlier, and also median is something we use to actually understand or find that part, right? We use the median to find that value. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. What I've told just now, median and mean. Okay. Now, similarly, like if I come back to the central tendency now, we have something that we find as the mode. Now, mode is basically the value. Now, mode is something, a value that is occurring the most number of the times. So, if suppose I have 21 coming twice, so now what will happen is the mode that I will have, mode becomes, if I say mode, 21, the value that is occurring the most number of the time, that is called as the mode. Okay, so this is called as mode now. Then what we have is we have percentiles, right? Now just just give me a second, I will plug in the charger. Then what we do is on the data we try to find the percentiles, right? Percentiles or quartiles, there are two things that we do. So now what is a percentile and what is a quartile? Let's try to understand that over here. Okay. See, percentile means dividing the data into 100 parts, right? That is what we mean by percent. Dividing the data into 100 parts. Not exactly 100, I will say 99 parts. So the 100 part you get right away, because when you break it 99, so 100 is something you will get over there. And same thing, we have something that is called as quantiles, right? That means dividing the data into three parts. Basically, we are dividing the data into quarters now. Now, this is just that, breaking this data that we have, the data is sorted in the ascending order. Now we are trying to find that what are the values which are lying up to the 1%. See, in this case, the data is small. We just have 7 or 8 values. But when you have 1,000 data points, or you have 10,000 data points, over there, when we find the percentile and quantile, it actually helps us to understand the distribution of the data. Okay, like for example, if you have the data of 10,000 people with their salaries, So you have the salaries of 10,000 people. You would like to find what is the salary which the lowest 10% of the people are getting, right? So in that case, what we do is whatever the number of data points that you have, whatever number of data points you have, we calculate the percentile value with the help of a simple formula that we have, that is P into N divided by 100. P is basically what percentile you are looking out for. So P, that is 10 percentile. So you will say 10. 10 multiplied by number of data points that you have. You have 10,000 data points. 10 into 10,000 divided by 100. That will come out to be as the thousandth value. So if that I that you get, right, what we do is if the number that you get is a whole number, then it's basically what we do is not a whole number, decimal number, right? We take the I and the I plus one as location, right? Even if it is not if it is not a whole number, we take it as I plus one as whole number. So it's just like the median we were finding. If the values that you, the number that you get, so if you say P into this, if it is a whole number, you will take I plus IE plus one as location. So in this case, 1,000 plus one, that is the values that you will take. And if it is not a whole number, you will take the next value that you will be getting in that calculation. So basically, the percentiles are when we are trying to break the data into 100 parts to figure out that, okay, if I say I have 10,000 salaries with me, now 10% of the people are getting the salary below below 10,000 rupees, and 90% of the people are getting the salary more than 10,000. So that is where we find the percentiles of the data to see the distribution. And most often, right, most often you will not be finding the percentiles, you will be mostly finding the quantiles, or I will call it as quartiles. Quartiles is nothing, it is 25% value and 50% value, and we have 75% value. Now these are called as quantiles. This is called as the first quartile. This is the second quartile. And this is the third quartile. Now what do I mean by this? Let me just open up a small data set. Okay, see, suppose this is the data that I have. So I have the data of some employees based on what is their experience and what is their salary. Now I have the data of 30 employees, right? This is the data of 30 employees. So what I will do is, if I have to find the 10th percentile, right? 10th percentile will be equal to 10 multiplied by 30 divided by 100, right? Which comes out to be 3. So what I do is, now this is a whole number, right? This is a whole number. So if the output that you get, if that I is a whole number, then what we do is we take the average of I plus the I plus 1th. So what I will do is I will take this number and this number. I'll find the average of this, which will come out to be as average of these two numbers, 40,000. So I'm saying 10% of the people are getting the salary below 40,000, and 90% of the people are getting the salaries more than 40,000. Because this data is sorted, right? This data is sorted in the ascending order of the salaries. Am I making sense to you? What I've just done?
The data is not sorted.
Sorry? Oh, it's not sorted.
That's
Yeah.
not sorted.
Let me just. So here we go. 41,000. Sorry. Okay. So this is the 41,000 salary that we get, where we are saying the 10% of the people are getting 41 salary, and then we have it as the 90% people are getting more than this, right? Same way, if I find a 25% value, if I have to find a 25%, so how will I do that? I will come over here. Instead of writing 10, I will say 25. I get 7.5. So 7.5 as in 7 plus 1, 8. So eighth value. So that is eighth value. If I come over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can say 20. This. So I can say that 25% of the people are getting the salary of 56642, and 75% of the people are getting the salary more than this. Right? 75% of people are getting salary more than this. Similarly, if I find the 50% value, now 50% value will be, if I come over here, let's replace this 25 by 50. I get 15. That is the average of 15th and 16th value. 15th and 16th, right? That is this and this. The average is coming out to be a 63831. That is average of,
Amit, I guess it should be 16 and 17, row 16 and 17.
correct? Sorry, this is not 15 and 16.
No, we have a
I'm
heading, right?
taking a wrong number.
Yeah, I think we have
That's
a heading,
correct.
right? No, we should, n plus 1, right? That I
Sorry?
plus, no, it is I plus first place, right?
I and I plus 1.
Okay,
Right?
Okay.
So 15 is I
okay,
and I plus 1, 15 plus
Okay,
1, that
okay.
is 16.
okay.
Okay. And same way, if you have to find the 75% value, what will be that? That will be, let's put the 75 over here. $22.5, that is 23, and the value number 23,
33.
that would be this
Below
98,000.
that. Below that. It will be the 101302.
We have a heading now. So
We have a heading, right?
This one.
This one.
Okay, now these are the three values that I find. If you call it in the percentile, I will call it as like this: 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile. If I have to call it in the terms of quartiles, we will call it as first quartile. This is the second. This is the third. Right now, these are the quartiles. If I call it in the terms of quartile. Now, if you say, if I ask you now, what is the median? What is the value of median in this?
Median will be, so there are 30 values. So that means middle is 15 plus, should be 15 plus 16 or 14 plus 15 divided by 2.
15 plus 16.
Average
So
of
what we do
15 and
is
16.
15 and 16. We have 30 values.
Yeah.
So that is 15 and 16. Right? This and this. So you will now have 14
no,
values
16,
above.
next
16 and
two values,
17.
16 and 17.
Yeah. That will be
This
6. Yeah.
16, row number 16 and 17. So this is just getting a problem on this row numbers. Yeah. So 16 and 17. This becomes the median now. So if I now calculate also, let's find the median. Right. So we get this as, why are we finding a difference
No,
in this?
because no, you should take B16 and B17. You took B15 and B16.
Okay. Right. 16 and these. Right. So this is where we did the wrong part. Okay. So now you see over here, second quartile, 50% and the median, these values come out to be same. So technically, because median is the 50% value only, the center value, we call it as a quartile also. So for median, we have three different names. We have second quartile, 50%, and this. Right. So this is something that we call it as the median now.
Amit, how do we find the mode?
Mode is something, the value that repeats
Multiple
more
times,
number of
maximum
times.
times.
Right. So we have a formula of that in the Excel also, that is mode equal to mode over here. Now in this, I'm not sure if we have the, because it can happen that the data might not have any mode. So NA, there is no mode. There is no such value which is repeating the
Okay.
most number of times, right? Because I can see every value is coming once. So there is no mode in the data.
But we can only do it using a automated formula. We can't like manually with such big data sets, we can't find it.
You can find it now. You tell me like
Manually,
Can
it
use
is
count
not
function.
correct, not count if.
Count n. Yeah.
That's what, like I'm saying, we have to use an automated formula only. We can't find it like using like how we are doing it, right? How we are finding the percentiles with that mathematical formula. We can't.
You're asking about mode, right?
Yeah, so I'm saying like how we're finding 25% quartile, 50 second quartile, third quartile using that formula which you told us. I into n divided by 100.
No, you have a formula for that also in this.
From what?
No, for mode we have this formula, no mode formula.
Right.
So we are using a mode formula only in the Excel. So this gives me the mode value, right?
Yeah.
Now sometimes it can happen that your data can have more than one mode also. So suppose if I say that in my data, like let me just make a change. So suppose I'm making this salary as the same. See, now this value is coming twice. So this becomes the mode because this is the value that is occurring the most number of times. Now suppose I say that this value is also coming twice. But what will now happen is my mode formula is going to give me the first value that it finds that is occurring the most number of times. So it gives me this as output. But there was also one more mode that was available that these two values were also the same, right? These two values are also repeating the same number of times. And over here, these two values are also repeating the same number of times. Now, technically, this data that I have, it is bimodal. Bimodal means that I have two modes. Your data can be trimodal also. That means your data have three modes. So now Excel formula is going to give me only one mode. But if you want to find that if we have the values which are occurring the most number of times, I can use COUNTIF. So if I apply COUNTIF and I will say this is my range, comma, I'll count this value, how many number of times this value is found. So this is coming once. So I can see that there are two. This is coming twice. This is coming twice. So now from here I can say that this data is bimodal because this value is coming. These two values are coming twice, the most number of times, but all the other values are only coming once.
So actually, this is a more effective way to find how like modes in a data set.
This is a better way because if in case your data is big, definitely there will be certain data points which will be occurring the most number of the times. So this is a better way of doing that.
But I think this mode will be more effective in very large number of data sets because when there's large number of values, there are very high chances of one value repeating more number of times and becoming like one mode.
You can use any one of them. So what you will do is you will actually first find the count, and then what you can do is you can just sort the data based on this count in the descending order. Whatever value which will come at the top, that will be your mode.
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So now we have found these values, right? So we have found these values now over here. So I have found the first quartile, second quartile, and third quartile. Now, why do I have found it, right? What's the purpose of that? What is this telling me? Can you figure out something over here? And let's find the average also. Let's find the average salary also. This is the average salary. Now I have found all the central tendencies which we have. I have the mode also. I have the quartiles also. Now what inference will you get from this data?
There are outliers.
Huh?
There are outliers because there's a huge difference between the median and average.
See, it doesn't always mean that if there's a difference between this and this, that there will be an outlier. So it doesn't always represent that. See, there can be slight difference that you can have. I mean, because depending upon the data, so if there is a gap of certain values, so it doesn't mean that there is an outlier. For although there is a possibility that we can have, but it doesn't confirm it. So for that, what we do is we work with something called as interquartile ranges and all, which I'll be just telling you. apart from outlier, there's something more that it is telling you. See, let me help you with this. If I say it's 50%, I am saying that 50% of the people are getting the salary less than 65,000 and 50% people are getting the salary more than 65,000. Okay. And now when I come to the 25%, 25% of the people are getting 56,000. And when I say, when I find the 75th percentile, you see there is a high difference that you will see between this number to this number and this number to this number. 50 to 75% of the people, I mean, the P70, when we talk about the 75% people on the higher side, that difference is big, right? This difference is coming of 35,000. And when I'm seeing on the side of lower side, 25 to 50%, the difference is less, right? It's just a difference of 9,000. But over here, the difference is of almost like 35,000. So can I say that, you know, the people who are getting high salaries are actually getting a lot higher as compared to the 50% of value which are lying in the middle.
Yes.
Right? This is what this data is telling me, right? Because 75% value, the third quartile, 1/4 section of the people is getting the salary as this, 1/4 section of people is getting the salary around this, and 50% of people are getting the salary around this. So the people on the higher side, on the upper side of that 50%, they are actually getting a higher value, higher salaries. And the people on the lower side, they are actually getting lower salaries as compared to the complete data set. So I can say that when the experience of the person is less, he is going to get less salary. But as his experience will increase, his salary is going to increase at a faster pace, because I have the experience given to me over here. Based on the experience, the salaries are given to me. So I can see over here, when the experience is increasing, the salaries are increasing at a faster rate. Right? So from 67,000 straight away, the salary comes out to the 81,000 range. There was a big jump, right? So
If we
when the
plot a
salaries
graph also, if we plot a graph also, it will go slow, 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 and then after 50%,
it will be a steady increase. Correct.
Yeah.
So if you try to make this also, if I make a line chart on this, you see, like over here, there was slight increase, but right after that, you know what happens is, so this is the salary that we have. Okay.
80,000.
So you see now the salary just jumps after that. After 80,000, there is a steep increase that I see.
Yeah.
Right? So we have 30 points. So these
Also,
are just
there is a graph which we used to plot in stat class. It was like a sine curve. Okay. So where in the center it was the median, and it was like a wave. Oh, in this case,
you're talking about the box plot, right?
no, I'm talking about one of the graphs which we used to plot in statistics with such data, where we used to find median. Median used to be the center line, and where we used to find the quarters. It was like a curve. It was like a curve going up and then down.
A
Like
logarithmic graph.
I don't remember, probably.
It
So,
used to look like S, right? Like vertical S.
yeah, like it was like a big bump, like a mountain. Like, it was going up, and then in the center was the median, and then coming down. So in this such a data, after the median, there'll be like a little bit of flatness, because after the median, the salary is not it's not dropping, it's going up actually. Okay, that was just a mathematical rant. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I might not be aware on that. So if you get to know the name of the chart, then I'll try to plot that as well.
Yeah, that was one of the common charts we used to plot actually. When we used to, I'll try to find the name and get back to you.
Okay. So now if I come back, right, so these are the things that we're talking about, right? Which we were finding over here to find the mean, median. more. So this is telling us that where the center point is 9, right? And technically, if you see over here now, let me make the box plot also over here, right? So I'll make a box plot as well. So we have a statistical chart, box plot. So you see now, this is how the data is looking. The median is coming over here in the center over here. This is the median point. And I can see on the lower side, this is the 25 percentile value. This is 50 percentile. This is the 75%. You see, there's a big variation that I see between median and 75%. From here also, the things are quite evident. And from here also, the things are quite evident. And right, like, so right, I think you were mentioning, like, if you see now, I don't have any outlier in this. So the difference was there, but every time it is not going to represent that it's an outlier. So for outliers, is a formula that we have based on which we calculate that which value will become an outlier. Okay, which we will find on the basis of IQ.
Okay, it was called normal distribution curve, mean median mode.
This is basically a histogram only.
Yeah.
And this is a histogram chart, right? So, and we call it as normalization data. So yeah, so this is also a good part. So if we want to create that, right? So what will you think now? So this is also a good point that you have raised, and this is something that we will be discussing in a lot of detail. This part that we just shared, this is something we will be discussing in a lot of detail. Normalization chart. So what do you think if I'll create the same chart on this data? So
That's what I
basically
was
what
saying.
happens is, this is a histogram.
Okay.
So I'll create a chart on this. Let me just select this data. Okay, this is a histogram that we get. So basically what that chart tells us is, it is more about that we have more people in the data where we see they are having a lower salary. This is what it tells. Okay, let me format the axis and let's keep a pin width of 10,000. Right, so if you see now over here in this data, we see that there is this technically gives us the count, and the chart is something which will look like this now. If I come up over here and on this, if I'll make that curve, the curve will look something like this. This is how that curve will come. So which will tell us that, okay, in this data, we have more people with lower salaries and less people with the higher salaries, right? This is what it tells us. So the two things that we are discussing, they are a bit different, right? So that the curve that you have, that you have just shared, that is based on the count of the people. That is, we use it for count that do we have more people with high salaries or do we have more people with the less salaries? Okay, we use that normalization curve for that particular area. So technically what should happen is we should have equal number of people with less salaries and equal number of people with a high salaries, then only we can get a correct analysis or a correct average salary about that particular data set that we are analyzing. Okay. So over here, we were just telling people understanding the distribution, that is there any gap between how the salaries are being given to the people? Yes, I can see it, that the people with a higher experience, they are getting proportionally more salary as compared to the people with the lower experience over here. Got it? But the number of people are similar, right? Because we have taken 25%, which is, almost this 10 people in the first part, then, next 10 people in the second part, and then the next 10 people in the third part. That is how the data is equally distributed. I mean, the number of people that we are picking up over here, they are same. Okay. Now, once we find these, right? Once we are able to find this central tendency, then what we do is we find the range, or I will say the variation, how the data is varying. So variation is like finding the range. Range is minimum value minus the maximum value. That is something that is called as range now, right? So we have highest salary and the lowest salary. So we find the difference between that. That will give us the range. So if I come over here, I think we don't have any formula of range in this Excel. So we don't have that any range formula over here. Okay, we'll have to say we will find the maximum value and we will find the minimum value. Okay, now this is the range. The salary ranges from 37,000 to 1,22,000. Now this is the range of the data. Then the next thing that we find over here in terms, so see, range is to understand how wide the data is. Then we have interquartile range, right? Interquartile range is nothing. That is IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Quartile 3 minus quartile 1, that is equal to this number minus this number. So I get 44,660. This is the interquartile range. The difference between the third quartile and the first quartile, right? That is called as interquartile range, IQR. Then what we do is we find standard deviation. Now, you know, standard deviation is something which will be the most important part in terms of the probability or the predictive modeling that we do. Now, what is standard deviation? Standard deviation is how the data, how much deviation do we have in the data from the mean value, right? That is something that is called as standard deviation. So standard deviation is you have the variation in the data from the mean or the average value. So I am saying x minus x bar to the raised to the power 2 divided by n minus 1. So this is something that is we call it as the standard deviation. Okay, there's a formula for calculating the standard deviation. How we calculate it is all the values that you have. What you do is you subtract it from the mean value and then divide it by the n minus 1 and take the square root of that. So that is something that will give you how the data is deviating from the average value over here. So if I have to find that standard deviation, so we have STD formula, standard deviation formula, right, of the sample that we are finding. So if this is the data, so I find that up. So deviation of the salaries is around 27,000 from the mean. Now this is the deviation that I'm getting. So data is, so we have a difference of 27,000 among the salaries that I see over here.
Can you explain standard deviation again, please? What, like, it is the deviation from the average value?
From the average value, right?
Of every value or of like?
Every value. So what we do is we calculate it. So what we do is, for example, what I'll do is, so this is the salary. What I will do is I will find the mean value. So that is average. Then what we do is once we have the average, what we do is we find the difference of this minus this average. Okay.
Okay.
Then what we do is we take the square of this equal to this raised to the power 2. We find the square of these values. Okay, once we find the square,
negative number.
Sorry?
Just to convert it from a negative number to a positive.
To negative to positive, right? Yeah. So that they don't cancel out each other and we will get a standard deviation of 0.
Correct.
So that is why we take a square of that. Then we find the sum of this, which will be this number. And then what we do is divide this by n minus 1, that is 29, this number, and then we take a square root of this. Because we have taken the square of the numbers, we take a square root of this. So we get 27,580. That is the same number that we are getting over here.
This is sort of like the average deviation value.
Deviation from the average value.
Yeah.
How the data is deviating from the average.
Yes. And there were two different ones. One was S and one was this.
One is for the, so for when we calculate deviation on the sample, we call it as n minus 1. When we calculate the standard deviation for the population, we divide it by the n.
And mu is the average for the
average. X bar is the average of the sample, mu is the average of the population.
And what was this sign called? This n. This Was it sigma?
This sigma
No,
summation.
this is summation, right?
Summation. Yes.
Left LHS of this one.
So we say summation of all the numbers. Like we have
No,
added
only
up
from
these numbers.
LHS, left hand side of that equation.
This S.
No, the other one. No, right.
Yeah, it's sigma.
Sigma.
Okay. All right.
This is the same thing, right? So this is the notation. So when you are calculating standard deviation for the population, you call it as sigma, and when you are calculating for sample, you call it as S.
Okay.
Right?
Thanks.
So this is sigma. This is sigma over here, and this is S. Standard deviation of the sample, standard deviation of the population. Okay.
And variance is average of.
Variance is the square of this. So basically, what we do is when you square this number, that is a variance. If you take a square of this number. We were in the Excel over here. So this is the variance, this number. This is the variance. And this number is standard deviation.
Okay.
Number below.
Before the square, what the value was, the standard deviation. Okay. Sorry, it's variance. Okay.
This is
Before-
variance and this is standard deviation. And this is variance. Okay. So these are, these are some calculations that we do to first understand the data, that how the data is distributed. Now, standard deviation is something we will be again, standard deviation, normalization curve, we will be talking about it again. So I think for today, I'll take a pause over here for now, right? So we will be starting off and we will understand more stuff around it. What are interquartile range, and then how do we use interquartile range to find the outliers? What is the formula that we use? So we will be talking on that. Okay. So for today, I think I'll take a pause for until here now, and let's get started on this on Monday.
Okay.
Right? Sure. Okay. Thank you guys.
Hope you had a good birthday celebration.
Yeah, it was a lockdown birthday. So second birthday went into the lockdown only. Last year also the same thing happened, and this year as well. So just a couple of friends came in on that night. That is why I couldn't take the session also. They also was kind of really surprised. They came up and we were just having some good time in that night. So it was not possible for me to wake up.
And
in the
that
morning.
is
But yeah, it was,
that is a big celebration in today's time.
sorry?
That is a big celebration in today's time, just to meet your friends and people.
Yes, yes.
This time.
Very true. I mean, I actually met them after almost, I guess, 6 to 7 months.
Oh wow!
So,
Wow.
Because like for the last, like the things have not settled down in India over here till we are going through that lockdown and Corona crisis till date. Although in the sometime back the cases went down, but then again, but the people were not very much comfortable in moving out and meeting with each other. But definitely, we hope that the things do get settled down in the coming months.
Yeah, it's better than before. Like the 4 lakh something cases, now it's reduced to 1 point something. So it is,
Now
but
the
still
cases are
it'll
going
take-
down.
Yeah.
But like where I stay, like I put them in Delhi NCR in Noida, so I stay in Noida over here. But over here, there's still the lockdown.
Noida or
everything-
Greater Noida?
Noida.
Okay. Noida is
Yeah.
quite populated.
So, but over here we still have a lockdown, so things have not opened up yet.
Okay. There's also curfew going on, right? Like, pehle there was a curfew. Delhi to Noida, there was in the weekends at night.
That the curfew is still there. Like from morning 7 up till evening 7, the shops can open. Only the essentials, the groceries and the medicines and all, but nothing else. And after that, everything has to be closed.
Okay, great. Nice to know. All the best.
Yeah, thanks.
Hope everything gets better for everyone.
Definitely, yeah. Looking for the same. Yes, so thanks everyone. So see you and let's on Monday now. Bye.